Well, today marks 1 year since the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history. 58 people were killed and hundreds of others hurt at the attack on a country music festival in Las Vegas. As Erica Hill reports, for one severely injured survivor, today also represents a homecoming.
On October 1st, 2017, Rosemary Melanson was soaking up the music and the moment at the Route 91 Harvest Festival with her daughters. In an instant, everything changed.
At first I thought it was firecrackers, and then I saw bullets hit the tank, and then I realized, oh my God, that's not fireworks, those are bullets, and immediately I was shot.
A year and 12 surgeries later, she's still recovering.
You could see the joy in her face, the happiness in her face of wanting to come home. She's tired. She's tired of being in the hospital. She's been in the hospital for almost a year. I've been in the hospital almost a year with her every day.
Since the shooting, Rosemary has spent just 5 weeks at home.
It's been an emotional roller coaster for all of you. Are there ever moments when you're angry?
It's not angry, but it's more disappointment. It's like a roller coaster that doesn't have any brakes. It never comes back to the landing to stop. It just keeps going up and down, up and down.
Across this city, resilience is on display. And over the weekend, moments of reflection for the 58 lives cut short. The final investigation report issued in August did not determine a motive, with the sheriff calling the shooter an unremarkable man with mental health issues.
We just see this, sadly, this repetitive sickness that's out there.
Early bipartisan calls for stricter regulations, including a federal ban on bump stocks, have quieted, despite bills in the House and Senate and promises from President Trump in the wake of a school shooting in Parkland, Florida, 4 months later.
We can do that with an executive order. I'm going to write the bump stock, essentially write it out.
10 states have passed bump stock bans and, in some cases, additional measures aimed at preventing future tragedies. A public comment period to reclassify bump stocks as machine guns brought in more than 180,000 responses. The DOJ hasn't yet issued a decision.
It's a very difficult time. I've never seen a more divisive political structure in my life in all these years. And so it really starts with each one of us. And what can we do?
In Las Vegas, it is a focus on community and on moving forward. At the Clark County Museum, a new exhibit, How We Mourned, opened on Friday, a collection of the items left behind at memorials and vigils around the city.
Was it hard for any of your staff to work on this?
Oh, yes, it's hard for everyone. It's a very heavy exhibit. This is something we're dealing with daily, and everybody has to walk away from it at times.
Some 18,000 items are preserved, each one a powerful reminder.
It is going to be important for us to look back and say, how did we deal with this?
Learning from the past, focusing on the future.
What do you hope the story is next year at this time?
I hope that it's a celebration of life every year, and the house will just be full of happiness and love.
Vegas strong and growing stronger.
And our thanks to Erica for that report. Well, several events will be held throughout the day. A moment of silence was held this morning, and a blood drive is also planned today. Later on, the mayor will dedicate a new remembrance wall and statue to the victims. Then tonight, lights on the Strip will be turned off. Moments after that, the name of each victim will be read aloud.
We are back now on Newsy. 1 year ago right now, hundreds, thousands of people were preparing for a night that was supposed to be all fun. The Route 91 Harvest Music Festival in Las Vegas. Shortly after 10 p.m., a gunman opened fire on the thousands of people who were there. 58 of them died. Today, people are remembering what happened that night and the lives lost. The always brilliant Las Vegas Strip will go dark tonight in memory of those victims. Newsy's Alex Miller is there in Las Vegas, where she's been talking to people who survived that shooting. Alex.
Hello, there are a lot of memorials going on throughout the city today. It's a day of somberness, a day of remembrance for the victims and the survivors who have really been struggling over the last year after a gunman shot out of the Mandalay Bay on a concert full of innocent people. When all was said and done, hundreds of people were dead, 58 people were dead and hundreds were wounded, making it the worst mass shooting in American history. We spoke with survivors over the last few days, and while their physical wounds are healing, their mental and their emotional scars are still, 1 year later, very raw. The memories vivid.
We were all listening, dancing along, and I remember hearing something going pop, 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 pop.
No, this is not happening. This is a bad dream, even though people were getting shot around me and eventually on me.
So we got under a table, and just saw lots of panic.
Just 15 minutes after Shannon Caffey and his wife got to the concert, shots rang out.
That was sad. See, I didn't think I would experience something like that.
He pulled out his phone and took this video for his friends and family, just in case he didn't make it.
There's been a shooting. Guns everywhere.
I thought we were gonna die, for sure. It's like, oh, this is what it feels like.
Shannon hid for what seemed like a while before he and his wife made a run for it. By the time he had a minute to look down, he noticed his leg was bleeding. He had a deep shrapnel wound.
Hey, don't leave me.
Cody Jones was on a staycation with her mom, an annual trip to the Route 91 Harvest Festival.
This one, a Country Strong one, I think this actually came from 58 Strong.
As the festival wrapped, they moved towards the front of the stage to see country star Jason Aldean sing his final songs. As the shooting began, 19-year-old Cody thought someone had brought in poppers.
Kind of during the darkness in between songs, that some woman about 2 feet in front of me turned around with her best friend, saying her friend was saying, "My friend's been shot. My friend's been shot. Someone help."
Cody's mom jumped to protect her.
We got on the ground. We pretty much in plain view. We were in the grass area, really not close to any cover. And she puts the bag I was wearing over my head and kind of tries to get on top of me.
As she laid on the ground, reality set in.
I really didn't know if I was gonna live. If that person moved like a different way, that would have been a bullet in my body.
Luckily, she and her mother survived. Christine Carria didn't even plan to be at the concert. She wasn't a country music fan. She'd only recently moved to Vegas, but an old friend needed her help working a booth for her business. She certainly didn't expect to click with the people there.
And they were just so polite and nice, and it was just a very, very, very loving experience all 3 days.
That's why when Christine heard popping, she thought it could only be fireworks. She still doesn't have a fluid memory of what happened.
I was trampled, but probably saved my life because someone who was trampling me was hit.
She wound up like Shannon and Cody, hiding near the venue, unable to fully escape.
Every place you went, you thought you were going to get, it sounded like the bullets were coming from everywhere.
Christine had an asthma attack that night, but it would take weeks and months to know the full extent of her injuries. A torn ligament, crushed joints in her lower back.
They didn't find out about my head injury until December 28th, when my husband and I were just sitting there watching a movie, and I had a massive grand mal seizure.
Christine is still suffering, physically and emotionally.
PTSD is really, it's real. I have flashbacks that are so strong that I've crashed my car.
But while each are struggling in their own way, they're also channeling their pain to help others. Christine is a member of Route 91 Strong, where she brings resources to help survivors stay on their feet.
Our organization is there for others to help other people.
Shannon started an online support group for survivors to connect across the country. Cody started her own nonprofit to help students like her. After the shooting, Cody's grades slipped and she lost her scholarship. She soon realized she wasn't the only one suffering. Her classmate had been at the shooting too.
One day we were in the library and I looked over at his computer screen and he was looking up symptoms of PTSD. And at the time I didn't want to admit I was having PTSD as well.
Now she's helping raise money for students in need of scholarship funds. The pain for all is still very real, but 365 days later, survivors who were once strangers have formed an inexplicable bond, and they're helping each other make it from one day to the next.
Alex, it is amazing to hear how such a tragedy has pulled these people together in a really unexpected way. Obviously, you talked to them about some of the lasting impacts and how long some of the effects of what happened last year have lasted and will last for them. But I wonder, with the time since the shooting, have many of the people who you talked to really processed what happened? Is there still an element of shock there? And I wonder, too, are they able to go back to Las Vegas, and in particular the place where it happened?
Well, the three people that we interviewed for this story are all Las Vegas locals, except for Christine, having lived here for decades, some of them their entire lives. Christine recently moved here. So as far as going back to the scene, they all have, for different reasons. Shannon, the man in the video, he went back the next day, wanted to be a part of it. He says he goes back there frequently, that it's very therapeutic for him. Christine has gone back because she has had so much memory loss from the night of the shooting because she was trampled, that she's gone back with her therapist to try to piece back together what happened, how far she really made it. So that part for them, I think, is therapeutic in very different ways. As far as the shock goes, I think they're still processing it. They're in church groups. They're seeing therapists on a once or twice a week basis. It's really hard for them to kind of understand that this is something that they have been through and that they'll likely be dealing with for the rest of their lives.
Tell me what all is happening today in Las Vegas to remember the people who died a year ago. Of course, we were talking about how the Las Vegas Strip is going to go dark tonight. What else is going on around you? What have you seen? What's planned later on?
Well, there have been memorials for the last week or so. There's stuff that are public, some things that are private that have been going on throughout the week, and then again today. When we were walking through the Strip this weekend, it seemed vibrant. It's definitely a different feeling today. We'd even been to the Las Vegas sign, which we're looking at. It's right across from us. When we were here just a couple days ago, very happy place. This is a photo op for many people, and it still is to some degree, but just behind it, a Good Samaritan set up 58 crosses, and we've seen people take their happy photo op picture and then go pay their respects to the victims. We've seen victims' families here wearing shirts, carrying candles, and ultimately taking the cross from the memorial and bringing them back. And then tonight, like you said, at 10:01, the entire Las Vegas Strip is going to go dark to honor the victims, and I think that will probably be the most stark reminder of what happened just a year ago.
I wonder, Alex, when you talk to people, particularly survivors and any local officials you might have talked to, about what's changed since the shooting, I just wonder what comes up.
I think the city has changed. When you think of Las Vegas, I think a lot of people think of tourism. Obviously, that's a very big part of the city, but there's a lot of locals around here and people that really care about their communities. And every single person that I spoke to, I've been in a number of Facebook chat rooms just for survivors. There are so many different support groups, people here that are really willing to help, because there are a lot of people struggling, not just with PTSD and physical injuries, but because of their injuries. Now there's been, they say, a rise in opioid addiction, that there's been a number of suicides. There are people that are living in their car because they can't work and can't afford to pay their rent. So this is a community that is really hell-bent almost on picking themselves back up and supporting each other in whichever way they might need it.
And quickly, I wonder, too, there is sort of a political element to all of this, too. It got caught up in a lot of the debate about how we should address guns legally in this country, in particular bump stocks. I wonder what you can talk about how people have addressed the changes that some people think are needed there.
You know, it's really different here than other scenarios like Connecticut or Florida, where there have been mass shootings. There hasn't been the same uproar, and that's likely because Nevada has some of the loosest gun regulations, high gun ownership in the state, and here people don't necessarily want a change. We're going to look at this as the week goes on. There are survivors that we spoke to that, even though they were hiding, under some really terrible circumstances. They, during the shooting, they don't want to see gun laws change. They don't want to see really anything change. As far as bump stocks go, we haven't seen a real big push for that here statewide. The president said earlier today that that we might see some movement on it federally in the coming weeks. But here, the big move is actually a 2016 ballot measure that would have expanded background checks, but that has been making its way through the court system. Even though it passed, the state of Nevada, the governor doesn't want to enact it because he doesn't want that, because the FBI has said that they'd have to pick up the bill and that they won't do it. So there's a lot of issues surrounding gun laws here, but it doesn't seem that there's that same push that we might have seen in some other states.
All right, Alex Miller for us in Las Vegas, 1 year after the shooting that killed 58 people. Alex, thank you very much.
Memorials across the nation today to mark a terrible day in America's history. A year ago today, 58 people were killed, hundreds more injured in the Las Vegas shooting. Lives forever changed. Earlier today, doves were released at a memorial ceremony in Vegas. A dove for each of the victims. Tonight at 10:01 p.m., the Vegas Strip will go dark. Then at 10:05, the victims' names will be read, marking the exact moment a gunman began firing on the crowd at a country music festival. The man who created a cross for each of the victims last year returned to set them up again under the famous Las Vegas sign.
A year is a really tough time because they've gone through every birthday without their loved one. They've gone through the holidays without them.
Joining me now is a familiar face, our friend Brian Claypool. And first of all, I'm going to hold your hand through this because I know that you, my dear friend, normally we know you as an attorney, but you're a man who was there that terrible day and are to this day really struggling with what you witnessed, what you lived through and survived. Are you okay today?
Yeah, I'm having a real rough time. I mean, I saw the 58 doves and I just broke down this morning. I have such deep love for every victim, all their families, every person injured, and everybody who survived, like myself, who's struggling with PTSD. I just have an unwavering, lifelong connection to them, and I'll never, ever forget about them.
You know, it's been really powerful to read. Many outlets have been writing stories about the year for people that were injured, police officers who have been left paralyzed, people who had to learn to walk, to talk, to breathe again, to function again. And in a way, where your injuries are not physical, you're like many people who were there. Living with that trauma. What have you been doing this year, Brian, to help with that?
Well, I mean, before I tell you about that, I mean, the thing that I'm really struggling with again today is just seeing again, hearing the shots, feeling the shots, hearing them ping, seeing people down, and then just not being able to really...
Is that playing over in your head again?
Oh my God, yeah. It's just seeing somebody down, and then I run the other way because, you know, I have a little girl. I'm a single parent of a little girl. And then I just keep seeing these girls. When I ran into this bleacher for a little bit, and I see the faces again of these 5 girls crying hysterically.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling like a year later.
You're there again.
But I'm there again, and I'm just like feeling again like I didn't, like why didn't I just physically escort them out and walk them out? I don't know.
Because Brian, here's the thing. We don't know. We can't plan how we're going to react in a situation. It's a fight or flight. It's a visceral reaction. Honey, you survived. You survived. Okay, so the survivor's guilt is palpable in you. And I know it is for so many people, and it's been hard because I think many of you feel as though this story's gotten lost, that the news has sort of moved on, but the fact is it hasn't moved on for all of you.
Yeah, no, we are bonded together for life. I know for me personally, I've been in therapy, regular therapy. I continue to be in therapy once a week, managing my trauma. Some of the symptoms I still have, anxiety, Don't like being really around crowds or people I don't know.
Loud noises probably rattle you.
Yeah, and then the biggest one for me that I still have not come close to working through is continued catastrophic thoughts.
Yes.
Like I'll be on the freeway and I'll just expect a car to come hit me head on and just kill me. Like I feel like I'm destined to die still. I'll be in my kitchen at night and I have these windows with no blinds, and I remember about a week ago just standing there and I was just waiting for somebody to point a gun and just shoot me through the window and kill me. So I have this ongoing expectation that I'm going to die. So therapist is working me through that.
And what does the therapist say is helpful about thinking about the future? Because the future seems almost unattainable when you've gone through something like this, doesn't it?
Great question. So two things I've learned through therapy. Number one, a lot of times I've gone into therapy just completely down, like dormant. Like I go in there, I don't want to be there. I don't want to go out of my house. I don't really want to see anybody. And I'll get there and I'll tell my therapist, I'm so down about everything. And she'll say, well, tell me something good in your life. My daughter, are you still there for your daughter? Do you help her in school? Yeah, I do. Then what she does, Michaela, is she helps me validate something good that I'm doing to help me realize the world's not all bad. And then the other part about the feeling negative about the world, what she helps me do is try to change the channel. So you start thinking a really negative thought, like I'm going to die or I'm going to get hit by a car on the freeway.
So you stop your brain.
You stop, and then you try to reassure yourself that that's not going to happen in this moment, that you're not back at the shooting in Vegas. So it's progress, but look, these people who've survived have a long way to go.
You really do. And the part that's really frustrating to so many is you're not alone and you will not be the last. And the reason that we feel compelled to talk about this is that we don't want it just to be a headline. This is the reality for so many people, and until we make substantive changes in this nation, this is going to continue. We're not doing this to make you a spokesperson for anything, but we wanted you to come in and share.
Yeah, can I just tell you one more quick thing?
Please, I'd like that.
One more quick thing, a story for everybody to help, a positive thought from this. Live your life with a sense of urgency. Cherish every second. Let me give you a quick example. You've met my daughter before. Before the shooting, every night when she goes to bed, if you put your arm out for a second, she'll say, Daddy, tickle my arm. It helps her go to sleep. So I would always tickle the front and back of her arm. But there'd be nights where you're tired. And I would turn her down on those tickles. But now
you're tickling every time you can. I know, Brian. I know.
I make sure I do it, because you never know.
Focus on your daughter during this time, and I'm glad you're getting lots and lots of help.
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back in a second.